back to Q&A Anime. You're here with Kadir and Akil, and today we're discussing One Piece Chapter 1045.
That's right. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications, updates, and let's get into it. Luffy and Kaido are both surprised Luffy's okay. He was sure that he was a goner after that, and then Luffy was like, yeah, so was I.
Yeah, that was pretty funny because Luffy's like, yeah, I thought it was over too, but... And then Kaido, he also starts to realize that Luffy's powers aren't that of a paramecia. He even says it should be safe to say you awakened your paramecia fruit, but something about this feels off. A transformation like this is more typical of a zone fruit. But I also love how Luffy is just floating in the air so casually, even though he's facing down Kaido, like the Kaido.
Yeah, he's not taking the fight too seriously, and it shows. He's just laughing it off. Kaido quickly attacks and swallows Luffy. Luffy bounces around inside him for a bit, and then lifts him into the air with the Gomu Gomu no balloon. So Momo, Yamato, and Kaido are all shocked. Yamato speculates it's some form of Kaido's, but we know that's not the case. Even Kaido says, your body's meant to be rubbery and not mine. And this brought the question to my mind of, does this mean Luffy can turn other people into rubber? So we know that typically paramecia awakenings only let you turn your surroundings into like whatever substance that you are mimicking. But now that Luffy's like a mythical Zoan, does that put him in like a whole nother tier? And I guess with time we'll find out.
Yeah, definitely. But Luffy just continues to show like the ridiculousness of his new power, you know? As he's inside of Kaido, he says he can see a pair of bright lights, and then he reaches his hands through Kaido's eyes to grab his nose and pull his body out with the Gomu Gomu no escape rocket. And then afterwards, as if that wasn't enough, you see him do some super silly stuff. He blasts himself up into the clouds, letting all the air out. And then when he comes back down as a giant Luffy.
A literal giant.
He come down. Can we just talk about how awesome that panel was? Like, it was amazing.
That was amazing. He came down as an actual giant.
Yes. And even Momo can't believe what he's seeing. He's like, Luffy's voice is coming from that thing?
Right? So, although the Gomu Gomu no giant gets stopped by Kaido's bite, Luffy quickly retaliates with the Gomu Gomu no jump rope. So, giant Luffy is using Kaido's dragon body as a literal jump rope. So he jump ropes with Kaido's body in the air as they fall, which is pretty dope. Kaido hits Luffy with a blast breath, point blank. Sends Luffy flying. Luffy screams out that it burns. Yamato even points out that he took a very powerful attack head on. And remember, in the anime, this attack was strong enough to obliterate a mountain. So taking a blast breath from point blank range is it's like taking a hyper beam from Pokemon at point blank range. And Kaido doesn't have a cooldown either. So Charred to Crisp Luffy says that's the last straw before cartoon running in place and then zooming back over to Kaido. And he even leaves fire track marks behind him, which is, reminiscent of Looney Tunes. But this also brings up a meme that I saw where Luffy is, where people were like, Oda's not slick. Luffy's actually a Nika. You know what I mean.
Yeah. But yeah, I enjoy that, we're just seeing, the funness of his fruit, the human model Nika, the model grin, joy boys, laughter, smile, silliness. I love just seeing all he's doing with it. And even then, before Luffy can even hit Kaido after he comes back saying this was the last straw, he gets smacked by Kaido's 3-world conquest Ragnarok. And it ends up sending Luffy's head clean through the roof. And, on the other side, his eyes pop out far out of his head once again. And we even see the same happen to Law, Kid, Chopper, Nami, and Otama. And I wonder if maybe, you were saying, he can turn these into rubber. I'm thinking maybe it's more he can make things around him more silly and fun. So it wasn't so much that, he was making Kaido's body rubbery, but in the same way we see in cartoons, a balloon inflates in someone's stomach and it lifts them up. It's that kind of thing. And even Kaido kind of comments and says that it's something out of a picture book, which means even he can see the ridiculousness of everything Luffy's doing.
Yeah, and the Gorosei did say that this was the most ridiculous power in the world. I just thought it was like ridiculous in the strength sense, as opposed to like ridiculous in the cartoony sense. And we're seeing that it's ridiculous in the cartoony sense. And I also wanted to bring up that the Three Worlds Conquest Ragnarok, I think that's the strongest form of Ragnarok that we've seen Kaido like land, which is ridiculous. And the fact that
I feel like Luffy, like even though it's hurting him, it's definitely not. He's not taking any damage. I think just a bit of his power is that it's like damage mitigation in a sense that like in cartoons you see people like take insane amounts of damage and they're fine. And I think that same thing is happening to Luffy kind of right now, you know?
Yeah, it made me think that the fruit itself had a way to give Luffy more endurance, or that form gives Luffy more endurance, but it also seems like it's straining him a bit, as we'll see later. So Luffy's quickly running out of steam at this point. Even Kaido can tell, as he says, you put on quite the show, but still you're at the end of your rope. Luffy tells him to shut up and that he's far from done, and then like, you know, immediately starts deflating to the point where he looks like an old man and admits he's tired, but you know Luffy, he's not giving up. This is not the end of Luffy by any means.
Yeah. And then even then, like, he like as he's trying his best to stay in the fight, Kaido tries to reassure him with honestly like not the greatest pep talk or death talk. He's like, you can rest easy and die then. Tales will be told about how you all fought in this war. And like without even missing a beat, Luffy just kind of snaps back like, who cares about that? When you're dead, only your bones stick around. And I think it kind of highlights the difference in ideals between Kaido and Luffy, because Kaido thinks this is something great and honorable. You got to die fighting in such a fantastic way. And we know Kaido wants to die. Versus Luffy, who thinks that dying is terrible. He puts himself in all these situations where he's risking death constantly. And it's not that he's afraid of death necessarily, as we've seen time and time again since Logtown.
Yeah.
It's the fact that it's not something he wants, because he understands that like once you're gone, you're gone. Like I'm sure he's lost plenty of people in his life, Ace especially, and he knows that like he knows kind of the pain that death brings, and so it's not necessarily that like he isn't afraid of it, he doesn't care if he dies. It's just that he's like willing to risk it for certain things. And I just thought that was really amazing. And you know, Yamato and Momo are watching everything go down at this point. And Momo can tell that Luffy's voice is still fading quickly. So
still, Luffy manages to find the strength to keep going. He says, we're not done yet. Luffy remembers the people that he's fighting for. You know, the people he's fighting for, Momo, Tama, Kinemon, all the samurai, all of Wano, and then all the sacrifices that were made. Pedro, Shanks even losing his arm. You can kind of say that was a sacrifice. Ace, oh my gosh, Ace.
Yeah.
Anyone who's seen the series already knows what kind of sacrifice that was.
And on top of that, knowing that Ace did come to Wano and kind of like touch these people's lives and told them that one day he would come back and free them, and in the sense that Luffy's inherited Ace's will.
Yes. Like I said in the last video, man, inherited will. And then he manages to re-enter his awakened form. So he knows how to go into it consistently, which is something that I wanted to check for. Because sometimes it could be like a luck of the draw where he gets access to this form just because he's in a desperate situation. But knowing that he knows how to go into that form frequently makes me happy. I wonder what the cooldown effects for this ability are, because it's clear that it offers him a lot of power, but great power comes with a great drawback. And so it'll be interesting to know what Luffy's drawback is with this. Kaido laughs and says that Luffy's gonna kill himself, but Luffy shows the strength of his resolve, and he's like, after all this, do you really think something like death can scare me? So I hope that this doesn't end up killing Luffy, because we still have a lot more things to accomplish.
But yeah, Luffy and Kaido end up resuming their fight, with Luffy back in his Joy Boy state. And then Yamato immediately warns him to look out. But Luffy ends up taking Kaido's attack head on as his face like warps into the shape of Kaido's club. And I felt like that had very Tom and Jerry vibes. You know, Tom would get hit with the frying pan and then you'd see his face and it's in the shape of a frying pan. And so seeing that happen with Luffy was kind of funny too. And even Yamato is shocked seeing this happen. I feel like everyone, when seeing the ridiculousness of Luffy's new form, that's like the only thing they can be is shocked. But Luffy ends up running away from Kaido screaming that it hurts, which was also kind of funny. But Kaido like doesn't even give him a break and immediately strikes him again with this even stronger attack.
Yeah, it makes me think that the drawback to this powerful ability is that Luffy doesn't really have control over the seriousness. So like he'll deal like a big hit, right? And then he'll like get on the ground and like start laughing. When before, you remember in Gear 4, he would continue to like go after Kaido. So
yeah,
I wonder if that's something he has to work through, or if it's just a way to balance out the ridiculous power that he has with this new ability. Luffy uses his power to make the ground rubbery and uses the momentum from the attack to his advantage. He shoots up in the air and over to a rock and then launches himself off the rock and back towards Kaido. His arms are spinning around him like a Beyblade, and Kaido's amazed by his abilities after the transformation. You know, pure white transformation, coated in armament and Cocker's hockey. Fights with such freedom. He's very versatile. He's clearly never seen anything like it. And this is Kaido we're talking about. This is the guy who fought Gecko Moria when Moria was at his prime. He squared off against Shanks. He squared off against Roger and Garp on the old island. What was it called?
Yeah, I don't remember what that was called, but when he was part of Rox's crew. Yeah,
God Island, I think it was. And still, this is some of the most versatile things he's ever seen. So
yeah, that just goes to show you a fruit that hasn't awakened in 800 years. Like just the kind of hype and power behind something like that.
Yes.
And you know, Kaido, he screams out that there is no one in this world capable of taking him down. And then almost as if, literally like a punch in the face right after, Luffy just hits him with a punch clean through the head. You know, Yamato and Momo are both like shocked, awe, amazed to see it. Kaido's face is literally folding inward, and then he gets knocked down fully afterwards. And it was just like an insane thing to see. And then the final line of the chapter, Luffy says, "I'm having the time of my life, Kaido."
Yes, that scene where he punched like through his face, that was ridiculous. And for those of you who haven't like seen the panel, we'll have it like on display, but it's like a cartoon version of him like going through Kaido's face. Not literally like a gunshot wound like through the head. It's nothing that violent. One Piece isn't that crazy. But yeah, that hit made me like double down on the theory that I had earlier, that Luffy had the ability to spread his rubberiness to, you know, not just surroundings but to people as well. And I wonder if that rebound is gonna affect Kaido.
Yeah, it looked like when he got knocked down, I could see like the sparks of like Conqueror's hockey off it. I'm sure that was like a major hit. I think I saw some blood coming off of Kaido as well. So
yeah,
seems like I definitely do think that you're right though. Luffy's definitely gonna have to overcome like the silliness. It's not that I like the silliness. I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing. I just think that it's like it's definitely taking over too much and it's controlling too much of the flow of the battle, and that could end up costing Luffy a lot. So
yeah, when I talk to other One Piece fans about this chapter, they're like, okay, we get it. He's strong. He's silly. Can we get to the fight now? Like they're not as into the silliness that Oda's drawing, and they miss like Luffy being more like serious in a battle setting, because this is like one of the most climactic fight of Wano, right? You know, Luffy going up against the strongest creature in the world. Literally like 2 years ago, we wouldn't have like seen this coming. I thought it was going to end up being like Luffy, Kid, and Law, all three taking down Kaido. Just having Luffy take on Kaido by himself, I think like speaks to how far Luffy's come. And you know, for it to be treated as like something silly, I guess is where a lot of One Piece fans are pretty like mad. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I feel like I remember I was on the Reddit and I saw a lot of people like under the newer comments that were complaining about like they didn't like the goofiness of the latest One Piece chapters. But I feel like One Piece has always kind of been like a goofy thing. If you remember back in Dressrosa, how Usopp took down Sugar two times with the crazy face.
Yeah.
You know, true. When they were, I think it might have been in Skypiea that like people have done like the shocked eyes pop out of their head type of thing.
Yeah.
And so I feel as though like the silliness isn't necessarily something that wasn't ever prevalent in One Piece. It just wasn't as prominent as it is right now. And I feel like people who don't like that, I can understand why, but I feel like you have to like still kind of love it a little bit because it's so enjoyable and so cool to see. Especially because like you're seeing just the amount of versatility, like Kaido was saying, that Luffy can do with this fruit.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like in the past though, it's been like less frequent. So those moments were few and far between, which would make you appreciate them more. And now it seems like we're getting it like every time Luffy's on a panel. You know, if he's in one part of the page, then the rest of the panel is also kind of silly. And I understand how some fans can be kind of pissed off with that. I myself, I enjoy it. I think that it's taking too much from the Looney Tunes universe though, because that's totally different. You know, we have like the whole Cartoon Network, Tom and Jerry, Bugs Bunny, all that jazz I think is reserved for like that genre, and it doesn't really have as much of a place in shonen. And while I appreciate that Oda's like trying to push the boundaries of the genre and bring this new art style and comic style into One Piece and, you know, experiment with it, with the series being where it is, I think that this is probably not the best time to be as, what's the word I'm looking for? As
experimental?
Yeah. This isn't the time to be as experimental, considering that we're at one of the highest, the highest action part in One Piece in the entire series in the last 20 years, right?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know, because I mean, I agree with you. You're not right. Like, you're not wrong that that we are at like the highest point in One Piece, and so like I guess it is in that sense. It is a little weird to be showing like all this silliness, but I also feel like it's such a cool concept for a power. Like, it's such a cool power conceptually, I guess, because imagine that, like, just like in a fighting sense, like someone whose power is legitimately like so similar to like silly cartoons and stuff, in the exact way that we're seeing, like Kaido has been hitting him nonstop with incredibly strong moves, back to back to back. Any of these, as anyone has, as like Yamato has said, was probably enough to like kill Luffy if he was in Gear 4th and he was just taking these hits in the way he's taking them right now. I think it's supposed to highlight like, hey, like he's a silly, joyful, haha, funny cartoon character. Like you see him get hit and he's like, ow, it hurts, but he bounces back. And like, you know, he takes a hit, but then he does something silly and it ends up working out against the bad guy, you know?
Yeah, I guess, well, we have our difference of opinion, and I want to know what our audience thinks. So, guys, definitely leave a comment on the video, whether you like the new art styles or whether you kind of find them annoying. And I guess we'll end the video there.
Yeah, sounds good. So Q&A out.
Q&A out.